Hello everyone, it's Amy, and this week on Build Your Stash and Craft Week 4, we are going to make our own homemade foam stamps. So last week I told you what you would need would be some foam sheets, some foam that has shapes to it of any sort if you can find them, the 3-pack of sticky glue from the Dollar Tree, some brighter color paints from the Dollar Tree, and I got my paper towels at Walmart because they were only 50 cents instead of $1. And then I put my extra 50 cents in one of my glass jars so that I can save that for something in the future. And you think, well, 50 cents, that's no big deal, but we're only spending $5 a week and we've already got a halfway decent build-up. So also you needed some cardboard. This was something my daughter had got some cups at Christmas, and it had these little flaps on all 4 sides. So I cut the flaps off, and then instead of throwing this away, I'm going to keep this because it's got all these little cutouts in it. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to cut this. Grab my scissors here. I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces, and then I'm going to make each one into a different type stencil for myself to have in my stash, just because I was looking at it and I thought, well, that would be kind of cool. Just kind of cut it in the middle, and then I'm going to cut them each different. These are cut like this. So on one I may cut one of these little bits here, cut one off, leave one, cut one off, leave one, cut one off and leave one, all the way around. And then on another one I may cut off 2, leave 2, cut off 2, leave 2, and or on some maybe make them pointy, just cut a little point on them on all of them, and then flatten them out like this, and they'll make really cool stencils. So I'll try and show you that later after I get that done. Maybe at the end of this video or on next week's video, I'll show you what I did with those. But yeah, so don't forget, I was going to kind of throw those away. And then when I was looking at them, I thought, they're different, they're cool, I could definitely do something with those. So I'm going to put those aside. And then all I did was I just measured my very first square and just drew a straight line so that I had a straight line. And I cut them 2 inches by 2 inches. And then I just used one to use as a template to cut all the rest. Now, whenever you're using a template, whenever you've got one that you're using, and you don't want to have to measure every single thing that you're cutting, use the same one over and over and over. Because if I were to cut this one, and then use the one I cut for the next one, and then use that one that I cut for the next one, what will happen is as you go along, they will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and your first to your last will be very different. So a lot of times I'll just put an X on the one that I'm using as my template so that I don't get mixed up as to what was the one I just cut and what was the one that I was using to cut around, because that will make a big difference. Something that Papa always told me. Make sure you use the same template. So anyways, I wound up with, I had 2 of these big squares, so that I had 8 flaps. That wound up giving me 24 little squares. So I have plenty and plenty of squares for the back of my foam stamps. And then to start out, the easiest way is to just start with your shape stamps. And because the foam is so thin, it is easier to do a few layers than to try and just do one layer. Get that out of the way. If you just put one on there and then try and use it as a stamp, what happens is you get a little bit of paint on the background, and then when you go to stamp it, that paint gets on your project. So these little foam stickers are actually thicker than the foam that you'll cut yourself. And so I think that 2 of these would be just fine. And all you want to do is you want to just take 2 of them. Now they're kind of a little odd shaped, so I kind of want to see where they line up. And that's going to be where it lines up right there. Because there's a little tiny short petal right there. And there's a little tiny short petal right there. If they don't line up exactly perfect, you're okay, because that bottom layer is there just to hold you up off the cardboard. So if it's a little bit off, don't worry about it. That backing is not really going to, unless you're way, way off, you're not going to, if the backing's off a little bit, it's not going to stamp that way. The only thing that's going to stamp is the top flower. But now you've got dimension off of your cardboard, so that when you put some paint on there and stamp, you don't get the paint from your cardboard on your project. So that's how we do these, and I just got all different sorts of little flower shapes in the batch that I got, and you can put them on one, like that nice big flower. I just put one, and I have 24 backings here, so I can do one of each. See here, I want to try and kind of line this up a little bit. Just because that's me. There we go. So I could do like 3 of that same style on there. And it doesn't matter what color they are, because they're going to get paint on them anyways. So it doesn't matter if they match, unless you really kind of have to have them match. I'm like that sometimes. I do want to line them up, but color-wise, they don't have to match. And just put 3 on there like that. Now these are going to be some great stamps. Since we're just starting out, we don't have any stamps yet. And these stamps are going to come in really handy next week for our project next week. And that's the thing, as you build up slowly, you just have more and more things, and I'm just going to give those a good press. They have a pretty good stick on them. You don't want to, you just want to wipe these off with a damp cloth when you're done with them. You don't want to stick them in water, obviously, because of the cardboard. But I like these big kind of daisy stamps here. They're really pretty. And I think I'm going to do a single one, and then I'll do one with 2 or 3. Oh, I ripped my... But you get the idea of how to do this. I'm having fun with this series, and I hope that if you're new, that this is helping out on how to be able to craft without breaking your budget. Because the easiest thing to get caught up in is, oh, they're making those, I want to get that stuff. They're making those, I want to get that stuff. And you get caught up in it, and all of a sudden you realize that you've really spent way too much money on your crafting supplies that you shouldn't have. So if you have a budget, no matter, you know, I mean, we're doing this on a budget of $5 because I'm hoping that will help most anyone who decides that they want to join along. That $5 hopefully will be enough that they could put into their budget and it won't break their bank. Gotta try and line this one up. And but it is very easy to get caught up in the what everybody's making. So I figured this way, no matter what, you've got something to make every week. And even with some of the things that you already have, you'll be able to go along and make other things that people are making. And the further you get into this, the more that you'll have. Somebody will make something and you'll say, oh, I have everything to make that. So there we go. We've got a couple with 3 on them. I'm going to make some with just 1. But now we're going to go ahead, in case you couldn't find any. And they have all sorts of things. They have little fish like this. They have all sorts of things. So you can get whatever you think you're going to like the best. And then, but don't buy them all, because it'll take you a while to use the ones you have. You know, you'll be able to make things with what you're making here, whether you chose the fish or the flowers or whatever, but you'll be happy with using those for a while, and then eventually when you get bored and you have a little extra money, you can go ahead and make some more. But so now what we're going to do is we're just going to make some ourselves, and these are going to be very mixed media. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a square. Well, I don't even really need to measure it, but I'm going to cut down the center. And I do find that cutting before you glue them together, because you are again going to need layers, cutting them before you glue them together works better. If you glue them together first and let them dry, sometimes when you cut them, they just split apart again, and you have to glue them together anyways. So, but you know, there's just all sorts of really cool things that you can do. Just remember that as you're cutting, keep your two pieces together. But we could do like this and just put some triangles on here. You can do stripes. You can do circles, hearts. I like the looks of that. And now I'm going to just cut a straight strip to go right down the middle. And there we go. We'll glue those on. And I like that little pattern. And that's the thing with the, I'm going to use this Fast Dry from our collection from the Dollar Tree. These sticky glues are a little bit stickier. They do work a little bit better than your Elmer's for something like this, or your school glue. But you don't need a lot because you don't really want it squishing all out either. Just kind of make sure that you spread it around. And then just put those together. I did that backwards, I think. Well, no, the other thing is, remember, where they go back together, like a puzzle. Okay, there we go. Put a little glue on the back. And put that right in the corner. And it's just so easy. I'm going to glue these two together, glue those two together, and glue those on, but I'm going to kind of show you here. After I did that, this looks like a little house, and I really kind of like that. So I think what I'm going to do is, and I need to decide, it's a little bit big for my piece of cardboard, so I'm going to trim it down just a little bit, but keep the same shape. And do I want to put a door in it? I don't think so. I think I'll leave it like it is. I can always draw a door on later. But there we go. Now that's going to make the background for a house, and then you can doodle on it, draw doors on it, windows, flower boxes, all sorts of things. You can do a whole bunch of them in a row and have a little neighborhood. So there's another one. Now the other thing is as you cut off pieces, you want to look at those. Now these are a little bit too small right now for me to glue on, but at some point I may take those, and I kind of like the way that looks, so I might make just a little bit of a bigger part. Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, I like to cut the two pieces together, and I think that 2 will be enough. I wasn't sure if we'd need 3, but 2 I think gives us enough thickness so that we'll be all right. And but I liked those little things, so I think what I might do is just, let's see, how do I want to do this? Let's cut. I kind of want to make like a little fan. I'm not sure how I want to do this. Let's round off the top like this. Okay, I cut that kind of odd, so I'm going to fix that. All right, and then I'm just going to go in and cut out some little triangles to make it kind of remind me of a fan. Now we've got all these little triangles that you can glue on one of your cardboards. You know, the cardboard's free. You need a little bit of glue, and there's tons of these foam squares in your packet. So you can make so many things. You can get very, very intricate. And there we go. I think that that looks kind of cool. I like that, and I think that that will make a nice little mixed media part. And I think that what I'm going to do is, because I want to, I'm going to flatten off that bottom. That's going to get glued on there like that, and that's going to be another stamp. You can do heart. Okay, so the camera cut off right there. So what I was saying was you could make a heart and glue that on there. Easiest way to do that is to fold it in half and then cut your heart, and then cut around another piece to get your second heart, and then put the second heart on top so that the one with the fold is on the bottom, because that fold will show up when you're trying to stamp if you put the one with the fold on top. So, and then I went and just made some more. I tried stamping one of the flowers, and as I was doing that, I noticed that the glitter paint is quite light, but it still shows up nicely. I might mix that with maybe like some red and have some, it'll give it more color. But after I did that, I thought, well, I want like some grasses and some stems, so I just cut those out and put them on. Now I said don't glue your two pieces together before you cut it, because sometimes they fall apart. Well, I found that especially doing something like this, trying to do that twice would be really hard. So I did try gluing them together, letting them sit for just a few minutes so that they weren't totally dry, and then cutting them out in both layers, and they seemed to stay together, and if they got off a little bit you could push them back together, so that worked out well. I also made some squares, and I made some rectangles, and you can just go on and on and on. But the one thing that I wanted to show you was I want to try heating this with my hair dryer, because I've done this before with a heat gun, but we don't have a heat gun. So we're going to try it with a hair dryer, and we're going to try putting some marks in it after we heat it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick some of these just on my table. Let's put the little round part down. Make sure that they're kind of flat. And you can do this with, what I really love doing it with is a piece of chain. Looks really cool. But let's see if it works with the hair dryer. I'm just going to put these down here. Let's do it like that. Okay, now we're going to heat our piece with our hair dryer on high and just let it get warm. I'm just moving off screen so it's not so loud, and also so that I'm not blowing everything all over. Okay. The one thing is, as soon as you stop drying, you want to press right away while it's still warm. Okay, I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to just press down really hard. Now, it might be nice to have a book or something flat to press with instead of just your hand. And we'll see how this turns out. Now give it a minute to cool. That's the biggest thing. You want to make sure, if you're trying to make impressions in your fun foam, that you want it to cool a little bit before you take it off so that it doesn't rise back up. And there we go. Now that'll make kind of a cool background stamp. It did move because when I moved, but and then we just take that and glue it right on our square. I'll cut it down just a little bit to make it fit. And just glue that on there. And then that'll make a nice background stamp. And it does work with the hairdryer. So if you have a hairdryer, you can make some like this also. And again, like I said, puzzle pieces, and this one is one that I did glue two together already. Puzzle pieces work good. Chain works just wonderful. You can make all different sorts of shapes. Just lay it out somewhere flat, heat up your foam, and then press it down with something flat on top. You don't need a ton of glue, but you do want to spread it. Right now I'm not putting any more glue on. I'm just kind of trying to spread it towards the edges. Worst thing that can happen is it lets loose and you have to glue it back down again. No big deal. And there we go. Press that on there. Now those impressions are going to stay there until, if you decide that you don't like that anymore, or if you made it, and like how I got this off like this, you made it, you don't like it, you can go ahead and you can heat it up again. Let's try that. You heat it up again and that will disappear. And it does take a few minutes. And then what happens is the fun foam goes back to its original flat state. Okay, so that this doesn't take forever, that's pretty much gone. Okay, so now I could use that again to try and do my paper clips again, or do whatever I want to do. And as it's cooling, it's even flattening out even more. And you could even try, after you heat it, you could try pressing it with something flat to even help that flatten out more, so that you can reuse that. One thing that will work good for is if you've got your bigger stamps like this and somehow something gets set on there and it gets a big mark in it, and you don't, and then you try stamping it and you don't like that mark in it, just go ahead and heat it up, and that will help flatten that right back out again, so that you can continue using it and not have to get rid of it. Okay, so let's play with our stamps here a little bit. I did make a few more when I was off camera. These were some little dots that came in that package, so I put them on here double high. And what I decided I want to do is, I like this with the holes in it. Now I'm not going to do this one double high because I didn't want to have to use another. There are two more little sets of those, but I didn't want to have to use another one. So I'm just going to do that one just like that. Also, you can put things off the edge, and then all you do is turn it over and just cut those little extra bits off. That's got the sticky on the back, so it wants to stick to your scissors. Remember, if your scissors start to get sticky, as soon as they start to get sticky, take them and wash them with some soap and water and get that sticky off there so it does not build up. And there we go. Now we have some that are just kind of half circles on there. And again, those are double high. So let's see how they stamp. Put my lid back on my glue, and it's best, especially when you're using tacky glue, hold it upside down. You can just lean it up against something, and we'll make a glue holder one of these weeks to hold them upside down, because I always use a glue holder for my glue. Okay, let's get our piece of paper here, and let's get our oatmeal lid. I have lots of oatmeal lids because Grandpa eats oatmeal. Whoops. I guess I should say Papa, as you know him. He eats oatmeal every day, so I wind up with a lot of lids. I'm going to take a little bit of this red, and then I'm going to take a little bit of the pink. Oh, shall we use red glitter? This is kind of a reddish orange. Let's use this one. No. I don't mind, because this is the red. If I was doing the pink, I would not stick my paintbrush in that. But I don't mind if I get a little red in there. And then I'm just going to mix these together. And this glitter paint, and that's what they called it, was paint. It's very gel-like. It's kind of odd, but it's really cool, and it's kind of neat to be able to get some glitter on your paper. So, and not only am I going to mix this, now that it seems to be mixed fairly well, I'm going to spread it out so that it's very flat, so that we can use it. And you can either spread it out like this. I like dipping my stamps, but you can also just use your paintbrush and paint on the top of your stamps. But just spread it out. I don't want it to be, because that's so chunky. That glitter paint is very chunky. It's really sticking up, so I really want to flatten it out. And then we'll just, let's try this little daisy stamp. Put my paintbrush in my water and just straight up and down. Give it a look, see if it's everywhere. I didn't get any over here, so I want to go back in there and make sure I get some on that side. Tap, tap, tap. There we go. Now I got a little bit on the edge here. I'm going to wipe that off so that it doesn't contaminate my paper. straight down, straight up. And that looks really, really cute. And so with that, I could make a little grouping of flowers on here. And then I could paint. I'm going to take just a damp paper towel and just wipe that off. I do have to say that now that I've tried these Walmart paper towels for 50 cents, it would probably be better paying $1 for like a Viva or a Bounty or something that's a little bit heavier, because this really squashed down when I got it wet. So we'll try these little dots and see how they turn out. Yep, got it all over, and let's put them, I'm going to put them right on top of where I did those pink ones. Straight down, straight up. Let's see what enough. There we go. Let's try putting one over here. That works really well. The more you stamp, you got darker, a little lighter, a little lighter. It gives you a little bit of depth. And then we'll try our little stem, but I'm just going to try it in red to make things faster here. And I'm going to just kind of line that up under there. And there we go. Now our little flower has a stem. There, that's quite cute. I like that. Sorry about that, that was off camera. So that's how we make our own homemade foam stamps. And I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you have lots of fun playing with these. You can make so many. I mean, I used just 2 pieces of this, and there's 32 sheets in here. So you can just make so many. If you can't get your hands on these ones, you can go ahead and cut a flower out of a piece of your paper and then trace around it and cut them out. You can do all sorts of things. You can get any shape that you want to get, and sometimes it may take a little bit of time, but that's the whole point of crafting, is being able to sit down and do something. It doesn't have to be super fast. So these are really kind of cool. I do like the sparkle that it put in with the regular paint, but they are very light on their own. So I'm going to upload this really quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay, we're on the final stretch. So I just heated up the one that I had done the paper clips on. I reheated it because I wanted to show you what it looks like when you put chain on it. So I'm just holding it down with a game that I had handy right here. I just wanted something that would be easy for me to push on, because pushing on the cardboard, you can kind of squish it. And I also, I'm just going to let that cool for a second. I just wanted to show you, I like to do the reverse. So I did a reverse heart so that it will stamp this outside edge, and then you could color this a different color. You could write words in there. And I love to do little background stamps. So I wanted to show you those too, because I had forgot to show you those. And I like these for so many different things. You can use them for clouds. You can just use them all over for backgrounds. You know, the triangle shaped ones, you can kind of like make little animal faces on them. And just use them as a background. So, but let's take a really quick look at how this turned out. Hopefully well. And there we go. Isn't that just so cool? And something like this would look really cool if you put it on your background stamps, or like if you put it on any of your solid stamps like your heart. So, but that's just a chain, and I just kind of set it on my table in a spiral. Heated this up with my hairdryer. So, and a hairdryer can work good as to dry things too. It just doesn't work for some of the things that a heat lamp works for, or I mean a heat gun. But so for next week, we are going to need parchment paper. This all came from the Dollar Tree. So this is a roll of parchment paper, not wax paper or saran wrap or anything, but parchment, because parchment is a non-stick paper, and it really does work well, and I have tested it. And then we're going to need some masking tape. We're going to need utility knives. rulers, and because we all love our white pens. Now, this white pen is from Walmart and it's $2. That would put us to $6. But I wanted to test it against what I got at the Dollar Tree. And so here we go. I did this on January 6th because I wanted to see about fading and that type of thing. And then just today, to make sure that it worked a second time, I went ahead and I made this little star here. But all of the rest of this was done with the Walmart pen here on the bottom from this dotted line down, and with my Dollar Tree pen here. Now, I've been looking, just a minute, Zeke. I've been looking for a white pen at Dollar Tree forever, and they don't have them. But they have these, and these work really well. $1 for 2 of them, and as far as I'm concerned, that looks just as good as this does. Now, you have to practice with it just a little bit. You know, if you push too hard, you can make a whole puddle come out and that type of thing. But I did dots and lines, and I did swirls, and I did all of this. And like I said, everything from the top dotted line up is Dollar Tree or the correction pens. And everything from this dotted line down is all the Walmart pens. So these work really good as a starter. And like I said, 2 for $1 or $2 for 1. So we're going to start with these. So you're going to need your white pens, parchment paper, utility knives, rulers, and masking tape. And next week we are going to make our own homemade washi tape. And also next week, as a supplement video, we are going to make a small, like a faux roll top desk to hold some of these things. I started with a small box, but I've outgrown it. So now we're going to make a roll top desk with compartments and a lid. And so if you want to try and get your hands on a box that has all 6 sides, you know, top, bottom, and all 4 sides, probably somewhere's around the size of wherever you're going to have a space to set it, but you're going to want it to be something like between 18 to 24 inches, you know, long, and at least a foot deep and a foot high. So if you can find a box, any box, it doesn't matter, but you're going to want to try and find one with all 6 sides. If you have a great big box, the one I had was my husband's vacuum cleaner box. It was about the right square, but it was longer than long, way too long for me. So I had to cut it down, and I do show you how to cut them down if you have to do that. So next week, don't forget to pick up your 5 items for next week, and then we will make our own washi tape. And as a supplemental video next week, we will make a faux roll top desk to put some of our stuff in. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.